Watching movies and jamming out. K-Flix 198.4 Fiction Radio.
Welcome back to K-Flix Fiction Radio. This week, Dustin and I are going to another place, another time. The kind of place where you can see a kick-ass concert get interrupted by a biker gang who kidnaps the lead singer with very little pushback.
Yep, we've found ourselves in another 80s dystopia that involves music.
Indeed we have. We're talking about the 1984 movie Streets of Fire, which just turned 40 years old, along with me, Dustin. I'm 40 years old now.
Whoa, I got another year, so I'm much younger than you.
Yeah, well, you know, we'll celebrate with a birthday movie for you next year.
Okay, sounds good. I think Back to the Future would have been the one, but...
I'm sure there's another movie from 1985 that has a fictional band in there.
Nah, wasn't
no, this is the only one. That was the only one.
It's funny, this film, Streets of Fire, got me thinking about a lot of stuff, but specifically as far as stuff we've talked about on the show, it did remind me of Back to the Future, because it's another sort of 80s, 50s time bridge.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You know, because it's this film isn't really set in a time.
Yep.
It seems to be kind of like a mashup of, a lot of 50s stuff, a lot of 80s stuff. I guess in the 80s, they were just into referencing 50s stuff like we were into referencing 80s stuff last decade.
That's fair.
I guess once everyone's 30 or 40, they have control of the media. They start throwing back to things from when they were kids.
Yeah, throwing out the nostalgia receptors.
But yeah, this thing, it made me think of Back to the Future because of that, and also just that whole 80s dystopia thing, that whole like lawless gangs are gonna overrule society thing, like the Warriors and the Crow and stuff like that. We're in that universe.
It's interesting that you bring up the Warriors because this movie has the same director as the Warriors.
Yeah, and some cast overlap too.
I have so much to say about the cast from this movie.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about a lot of these actors. I'm realizing I know the name Diane Lane, but I'm not super familiar with Diane Lane.
Oh man, well, I mean, I'm sure you watched The Outsiders in like grade school or middle school, right?
I have seen The Outsiders, but not since then.
Oh, okay, fair.
So I couldn't say I remember anybody's characters.
Okay.
But yeah, I just realized like when she came out, I was like, oh, this is not like a familiar person to me. I've like missed most of her movies somehow. Same with the main dude who is, tracking her down the whole movie, Michael Paré. Never heard of him.
It's funny you should say that because he is Eddie and the Cruisers, which is another thing we can talk about on this show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which was the year before this, 1983.
Oh, okay. That's another, tell me, I don't know anything about that movie, but is that another 50s referencing kind of thing? It just sounds like a movie with greasers, much like Outsiders in this.
I don't know about the time period. I've honestly only listened to a handful of songs. I've not seen the movie yet.
Gotcha.
But it's very Bruce Springsteen sounding.
Cool. Well, I look forward to covering that one sometime soon.
It was almost in my original 10 selections, but I swapped it out for Saved by the Bell.
That's amazing.
It's certainly in my Rolodex for things to come. So we'll get to it sooner than later, I'm sure.
So we've got Michael Paré and Diane Lane, who we've established I'm not familiar with. We've got Rick Moranis, which is an actor I am more familiar with.
Willem Dafoe, I would assume that you know as well.
We've got a young Willem Dafoe, yes, who's arguably, not even arguably, who is the biggest name out of this list today.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we've got a bunch of other people, but a couple of cameos that I was very excited about.
Paxton,
actually not even a cameo. He's in the movie.
He's a supporting
character.
role.
Cameo-wise, Ed Begley Jr.
Oh my God,
really
so
caught
funny.
Me off guard.
Yeah.
It was so good. And it was like a nice little funny moment in the movie that's not very, like, it's not a comedy. It's not humor-oriented.
Right. The movie still has tons more cast members that I geek out on, like Amy Madigan from Uncle Buck in Field of Dreams as McCoy, and she is so good as McCoy in this film.
Yeah, she's super fun, and that is a role that was originally written for, somewhere I saw it described as like a fat dude, and then she was like, I can play this, because she auditioned for Reva, the sister of Tom Cody, the sort of main character, and somewhere in that process, like, was able to say, like, hey, I want to try this other role that you have. It's written for a dude, but I think I can do it. And everybody was on board.
It's pretty cool that happened, like the creative process being open enough to change a full character to fit something you think could be more fun. I love when stuff like that happens.
Yeah, it's great. We've also got E.G. Daily as Baby Doll, an actress I know primarily for her voice work. She's Tommy Pickles in Rugrats.
Have you not seen Pee-wee's Big Adventure? She plays Dottie in that. That's what I know her from primarily.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I've definitely seen her and stuff. I'm super familiar with the Tommy Pickles character. We talked about Nicktoons recently with Doug.
Sure. And as I said in that episode, unfortunately, I didn't grow up with any of those, so that's why I lean more toward the Pee-wee's Big Adventure camp.
She also replaced the original voice actress in the Babe film series. She was the voice of Babe the Pig in Babe, Pig in the City.
Oh, okay. All right. Nice. In terms of the Warriors cast, we have two people coming back from that in Streets of Fire. The first being Deborah Van Valkenburg. And also, did you catch that the chief from Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego was in this movie? Lynn Thigpen?
No way. I didn't at all. I do remember her from the Warriors.
Oh, yeah. She's the DJ in the Warriors. She is the metro worker that Cody comes up to and is like, hey, I need to get into town to fight Raven, Willem Dafoe's character. And she's like, all of the stations are on fire, so she couldn't drive the train. She's the metro worker.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't even put two and two together there.
And then for the fictional band, the Sorrells in this movie has two pretty awesome cameos. The first of which, Robert Townsend, is in this. I don't know if you're super familiar with him, but I grew up with Meteor Man hardcore as a child.
Oh, I watched a shitload of The Parenthood.
Of course you did. Yeah, it was a massive show for us as a kid.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't even put it together that it was the same guy.
Right? Isn't that super cool? He's in The Bear now, so he's even still pretty active and in big name things.
Oh, right on.
And fun fact, he co-wrote a movie with Keenan Ivory Wayans called The Five Heartbeats about the career of a Temptations-like Motown group. So that is another thing we can talk about on this show.
Oh, whoa. All right. The universe is expanding around every corner.
It really is. And then another member of the Sorrells is Michael T. Williamson, who played Bubba in Forrest Gump. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah. Who was just recently in season 1 of Fallout in a fun little cameo role.
Oh, dope.
And then just to circle back to the director of this film, Walter Hill, we've already stated that he directed The Warriors, but in 1983, he had a massive hit with 48 Hours. And he also directed a movie in 1986 called Crossroads. Not the Britney Spears Crossroads. This is the 1986 Crossroads movie, but it's about more fictional musicians.
Oh, wow. Oh, this guy's a goldmine.
So this was your first time seeing this movie, Streets of Fire, correct, Dustin?
It was. This is another from your list of submissions to the show. And yeah, I'd never heard of it and I'd never seen it. And what a wild ride it was.
Yeah, it certainly is a wild ride. That kidnapping scene that I mentioned in the intro is wholly unhinged and insane.
Yeah. I mean, that's what immediately made me go like, oh, okay, we're in that world. We're in the like crazy goons roaming the streets, just taking whomever and whatever they want.
Yeah.
Which is very Warriors and very The Crow. Like, that was a thing. That was a trope in the 80s for sure.
I first came across this movie a couple of years back in 2021 when I was watching a movie called Happily about a married couple that are so happy all of their friends hate them. It is an awesome movie that takes twists and turns that you will not see coming by any stretch of the imagination. And it has an absolutely killer soundtrack that features mostly songs from other films, like I Still Believe by Tom Capello from The Lost Boys, something else that we can talk about in a mixtape, Extremes Play With Me from Bill and Ted, another thing we can talk about on this podcast, and finally it has the song Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young. It plays over the ending of the movie, and as I'm watching this Happily film and I'm hearing this song, I just keep thinking, what in the fuck is this song? So I Shazammed it as the movie was playing, and it came back that it was from another soundtrack. So I fired off the trailer for Streets of Fire and immediately had to watch the movie.
Holy shit, this was Joel Silver's third movie that he produced.
Wow. I did not realize that.
Xanadu, 48 Hours, this, and then just dozens and dozens of smash hits. Weird Science, Jumpin' Jack Flash, Lethal Weapon, Predator, Die Hard. We're not even at 1990 yet.
No, we're not.
Streets of Fire was part of that ramp up for him.
Ooh, what a ramp up it was, man. I love this movie.
It's crazy that they made the conscious decision that no one in this movie would die and that they would not even show blood.
Huh.
I don't know. I just read a thing that the director had made that decision. There would be no blood and no deaths on screen, at least. I mean, I guess explosions are ambiguous.
They just got really badly burned, that's all.
I take it all to be like cartoon wounds.
Sure.
Instantly, Chicago, by the way. Man, you can't film in Chicago and have it play as anything else. Nothing looks like Chicago. The minute you see that first L train pull up, or like, you know, when they're often driving under the tracks, you're like, oh, I know what city that is.
Yeah. I mean, it's not supposed to be Chicago in the movie, but yes, it was certainly filmed in Chicago. At least parts of it were filmed in Chicago.
It's fully fictional in the movie, right?
Yes.
I just meant, like, you can't shoot in Chicago and say it's New York.
Right, yeah.
You can shoot in St. Louis and say it's New York as long as the movie you're shooting is Escape from New York.
Yes.
And it needs to look like someone bombed it.
But I feel like Streets of Fire did open the door for stuff like RoboCop to come right after it.
Oh, yeah. That's an interesting connection. RoboCop, which is another, kind of like it's not set in the present time.
Right.
But it's just an alternate reality.
So this movie was not universally loved when it came out. It only made $8 million on a $14.5 million budget.
Yikes.
But the soundtrack was a decent hit, going all the way up to 32 on the Billboard Top 200.
Well, that's probably because I'm sure they promoted this, but the songwriter behind the original songs on this soundtrack he's got some chops.
Well, at least two of the songs.
That's true. There's the Sorrel stuff. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess I should clarify. I did mean the two songs by Fire Inc., which presumably were released as the singles, if there were singles from this soundtrack, are by a guy named Jim Steinman, who he wrote some pretty big hits.
He certainly did.
Just between Meatloaf and Bonnie Tyler, I would say he's got 4 or 5 songs that everybody knows.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Maybe most notably, he worked with Meatloaf on the Bat Out of Hell album and wrote maybe the longest pop hit in history. This one here, Paradise by the Dashboard Light.
An absolute classic.
Super classic, and you can instantly hear his style when this movie starts.
100%.
I just never want to turn it off. Like it's you just want to hear the next part.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a good song.
It's truly an epic song, and I'm not using that in the way that's not even fashionable to use anymore. It's epic in the classical sense of epic. It is a long story over time.
Mm-hmm. And it has multiple layers, like that whole baseball game at the end of the song is really fun and cool with the announcer. You know, it's great song.
Yeah, there's a name for this type of music.
Oh, yeah?
Wagnerian rock is defined as the merger of 20th century rock and roll and 19th century opera. That's reminiscent of the composer Wagner, but also incorporates like modern rock elements.
Okay.
This is the term coined by Jim Steinman to describe what they were writing.
Oh, he coined his own genre. That's funny.
He sure did. Yeah. He came up with it to describe the Bat Out of Hell trilogy.
That's pretty fun. So there's one piece of the score that always stands out to me when I watch this movie, and it's the first fight scene in the diner when Cody gets back to town.
Yeah.
The score in that fight scene is absolutely phenomenal. Did you take note of that song? Did you enjoy that fight scene, Dustin?
I did enjoy that fight scene, and I just love the score in general. I think it blends really well with the rest of the music in the movie. Mm-hmm. It didn't feel all that scory. It fits the vibe of the movie, which is crazy because guess what, Shawn? It wasn't written for this movie.
What movie was it written for, Dustin?
So the score for this film is by a guy named Ry Cooder. If you're not familiar with Ry Cooder, he's been around for basically the history of rock and roll. He's legendary. He's done a ton of stuff. He's worked with every artist you can think of. He played on Rolling Stones albums. He goes out and like his thing over the last 20 or 30 years has been playing with like different musicians from around the world and sort of bringing the American audience's attention to them. He was behind the Buena Vista Social Club. If you ever heard that album, or you saw the movie that came after that album, he's in it. Dude's done a ton of stuff. He writes these cool concept albums that I love.
Okay.
But in the case of this film, what happened apparently is he composed the score for a movie called Stroker Ace.
Oh, the Burt Reynolds movie.
Uh-huh.
I've seen this.
I figured you have, because I know you've seen a lot of Burt Reynolds movies.
Almost all of them.
Yeah, which was not a hit, sounds like.
It was
sounds
not,
like it won some Razzies. Mm-hmm. But he wrote a whole score for it of like 50s rock and roll, and I guess the director was like not into it.
Okay.
So then at some point he got, in contact with the folks making this movie, Streets of Fire, and it's just the rejected soundtrack, the rejected score from Stroker Ace.
Wow.
Which presumably some tweaks and stuff, but yeah, that's how the music that underscores this movie came about.
That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Always love a good tie-in to some Burt Reynolds action.
Now, one more quick oddity with this film, I guess, is the title, Streets of Fire.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Do you know where the title comes from?
I do, yes. Bruce Springsteen.
Uh-huh.
But babe, I can't go back 'cause in the darkness I hear somebody call my name. When you realize
He's singing his throat out here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and it's all lies, but I'm strung out on the wire in these streets of fire. Streets of fire.
I love that piano coming in. So good.
Dude, this album, Darkness on the Edge of Town, is great.
Oh, yeah.
I love it almost as much as I love Nebraska, which is the best, most depressing Bruce album. So the filmmakers were planning to use this song in the movie.
To close the movie out.
So yeah, so they proceeded as if they had the rights to this song, and I think Bruce had agreed tentatively to let them use the song in the movie, and then they shot the ending with Ellen Aim and the Attackers singing the song to close out the movie, the big finale, and then Springsteen got wind of this and he was like, oh, no, I didn't give my permission for someone else to sing it. I gave my permission for you to use my song with me singing it. And he pulled out, and so they had to come up with a whole new thing.
Yep.
But they did keep the title because I guess you don't have to pay Bruce for that.
So Jim Steinman wrote the replacement song, Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young, in 2 days for the ending of the movie.
No way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so he was originally supposed to have written just the first song, and then they hit him up, and they were like, can we get one more? And he's like, no problem.
Yeah, he wrote it in 2 days.
Wow. Okay.
And then they had to go back and reshoot it, which helped balloon the budget for the movie, because they had to rebuild the set for them to shoot it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The song did hit number 80 on the Billboard Hot 100, though.
The replacement song?
Yes, Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young.
Guy's a hit maker, Jim Steinman.
Hit after hit, man. So many hits. Something that made me laugh really hard on this watch. I'm sure I heard it before, but it really made me laugh on this watch. When Cody goes to save Ellen, he uses the butt of his gun to hit somebody in the face, and you hear an off-screen line of somebody scream, "Who is that guy?" And it really made me laugh.
I love off-screen lines that are like too audible in the mix.
Yeah.
Who is that guy?
Off-screen lines kill me a lot of the time. I love that stuff.
Okay, here's one more random one before we get into the music, Shawn.
Okay.
I don't know if you're going to be excited by this. I don't know if any of our listeners are going to be excited by this.
Oh, that's the best kind of info.
It's one of those things where I just heard it and I had to call it out. There's a scene where Cody stops a bus by like pounding his fist on the front of it. Uh-huh. And so here's the sound of the bus stopping. You hear that?
Yeah, that.
Yeah. There's a little sound effect.
Yeah.
You recognize it?
I do, but I can't place it. But I know that sound.
Oh yeah? Watch this.
It's the sound of the hyperdrive on the Millennium Falcon failing in The Empire Strikes Back.
Wow.
And probably other stuff. There's all kinds of stuff like that. The sound of Saul Goodman's crappy car that he has at the beginning of Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot in stuff.
Okay.
That like mechanical breakdown sound. I'm good at calling out the mechanical sounds, I guess.
Well, you're the gadget guy.
Gadgeteer at your service. That's literally my only clip from the movie. I just wanted to play that.
So what do you say we talk about some of the music in this here flick, Dustin?
Hey, let's get into it.
To my understanding, the Blasters do not have a fictional band that they were playing in this movie. It looks like they were playing themselves because that's how they're credited.
Yeah, I believe you're correct.
But I don't care because these two songs are so badass that I want to talk about them. So we're going to. And the first one that we hear them play in the movie is called One Bad Stud. You should know by now that I'm not gonna not play a song that features horns in a movie we're covering. I love that part with the rapid drums there and the counting. God, that's so good.
Dude, yeah. I mean, they nailed the like rockabilly thing.
And I love how much the singer is just pouring sweat. He's so fucking sweaty. Every time it cut to him just singing at that mic, I was like, yeah, dude, I would be fucking pouring sweat too, bud.
Those lights were no joke.
No.
Back then, they were so much hotter.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys are a real band.
Yes.
Like we should mention.
Yes, yeah, the Blasters are a real band in real life.
Part of the LA punk scene.
Not a band that I'm super familiar with, to be honest. Outside of this film.
Not one that I'm crazy familiar with, but I'm familiar with like everyone they're associated with. To call out a few, the band X, Black Flag, the Screamers, the Cramps. These are all like sort of getting into that punkabilly, psychobilly world, which is music that I've not always loved, but I can appreciate.
Each one of those bands that you named has songs that I do really enjoy.
Yeah, for sure. And they're also sort of, I didn't realize this, but kind of credited with helping Dwight Yoakam get his start.
Interesting.
Because Dwight Yoakam's kind of a abnormal thing because he's a country music artist on paper, but he came up entirely in Los Angeles versus Nashville or Texas or somewhere like that.
Okay.
So that's why he's always had that kind of outsider sound, and also why he acts in a lot of movies.
Huh. So this song, One Bad Stud, was not an original song by the Blasters. It was written by Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller, and originally comes from 1954 by a band called the Honey Bears.
Oh, really?
Well, there's one bastard moved in my neighborhood. Well, one bastard moved in my neighborhood. But he's big and bad, and I know he ain't no good. He don't wear no hat, don't wear no shoes.
I like that the horns are replaced in this with the choo-choo-ah, choo-choo-ah.
I didn't realize they were covering like an actual old tune.
Right? I didn't either. Pretty fun, though.
Yeah, man.
The second song that the Blasters do in this movie, Blue Shadows, is, however, an original song by the Blasters for this movie because I looked at all of their albums and the song is not there, so I'm pretty sure this was written specifically for the film.
Oh, okay.
I don't want no scars to show. I don't want no one to know. So I'll be killing time in the blue shadow. No other place for me to go. No other place for dying slow. So I'll be killing time in the blue shadow.
That's another good-ass track as far as my ears are concerned.
That one's got Chuck Berry all over it.
It really, really does.
Chuck Berry had a couple of good years in the 80s
Yeah,
in terms of reference and recognition.
very true.
I mean, he was recognized for his whole career, but
Right.
it seems like pop culture turned an eye again to the dawn of rock and roll around this time of the 80s. We got this and Back to the Future and
Yep.
dozens of other things, I'm sure. The Blasters have another song that you might recognize from a movie. Did you come across this?
Oh, this is from Dusk Till Dawn.
Uh-huh.
I love how fast I'm getting some of these things you play me.
Like, did you know this was them? You just
No.
recognized it from the movie.
Yep.
Oh, good job.
I've seen that movie so much that I know that guitar riff really well.
But this is just a little, I just wanted to play something a little more representative of like their music they make
Sure.
outside of the world of Streets of Fire.
Dark night. It's a dark night. Dark night. It's a dark.
Which is where you get a lot more of that like punk psychobilly stuff.
Well, I mean, that sound is so Robert Rodriguez style musically. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have other songs in Robert Rodriguez films.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
I didn't look too much into the Blasters catalog, but that is awesome. I love that they're in From Dusk Till Dawn. That's a super fun movie.
Next up, I think we should talk about the Sorrells,
Oh, hell yeah.
the band that we meet because the main characters commandeer their bus.
Yeah, you already played the clip of the movie for that happening.
yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah. That is the bus that he's
Yeah, that's the bus he stops.
that has the broken hyperdrive. Yeah, and they get on, and there's a doo-wop band on board called the Sorrells.
The first song that we hear from the Sorrells is called Countdown to Love, and it's performed a cappella on the bus.
Remember when you didn't love me? Now all the time you're thinking of me. Hey, life is great, you're all I'm living for. This is my countdown to love. Oh, this is my countdown to love. You are the one love in my life. I know you feel that way too. Oh, what a thrill when I'm holding you near. All of my wild dreams come true.
It's a classic doo-wop tune.
Yeah.
We've talked about doo-wop more than I ever thought we would in this first run of episodes.
That's so true.
Like, I've said the words doo-wop way more than I expected to already on this show. Not that that's a bad thing, just unexpected.
Yep.
That one's fun. Do they? I don't know. Is it an original song? Do you know anything about who wrote it?
It is an original song. It is written by Kenny Vance and Marty Cuppersmith.
Okay.
The soundtrack version is not a cappella, and it is by a different singer, a man by the name of Greg Fillinganes.
Remember when you didn't love me? Now all the time you're thinking of me. Hey, life is great, you're all I'm living for. This is my countdown to love. Oh, this is my countdown to love.
I love this like synth sound.
Oh yeah.
So good.
So he's known as primarily a keyboardist, and like everyone we find through these movies, he's got chops.
Oh yeah.
He was in Stevie Wonder's band for the better part of a decade, it looks like, and with Michael Jackson. He's worked with the best of the best. He was a touring member of Toto.
Oh, fun. The co-writer of this song, Kenny Vance, was also the musical director of this soundtrack.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. The T-Bone Burnett role.
Yeah, for sure. And we get one more song by the Sorrells in this movie, and it is called I Can Dream About You.
No more timing each tear that falls from my eyes. I'm not hiding the remedy to cure this old heart of mine. I can dream about you if I can hold you tonight. I can dream about
You know something, Waldo? We're gonna be rich. Yeah. Long live rock and roll.
I can dream
Now, you heard a little bit of Rick Moranis in there because this version of the song has never been released.
It's only in the movie. It's not on the soundtrack.
That is correct. So the original vocalist for this song is a man by the name of Winston Ford. And he also did the vocals for Countdown to Love.
He did all the vocals for Countdown to Love?
The lead vocals.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I don't know who did the backup
I was
vocals
like,
for Countdown.
it's all vocals.
Well, yes. He did the lead vocals for both of the Sorrells songs.
Got it. Got it. We've had a long run of performed live type songs, so now we're getting back into like it's not even the person you see on screen; it's a different voice.
Yes. Uh-huh.
The old way.
Yes.
It works.
This song was originally written by Dan Hartman, and it is the most successful song off of this soundtrack because he released it himself. It went all the way to number 6 on the Hot 100 charts.
Whoa, really?
And he wrote the song originally for Daryl Hall and John Oates, who passed on the song because they just finished recording their album.
I was just gonna say it has a yacht rock quality to it. Mm-hmm. I could hear Michael McDonald fitting in there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, Michael McDonald works for this as well, 100%. So as I mentioned, the version of it that I played already is not on the soundtrack. It is the Dan Hartman version, and it sounds like this.
No more timing. Each tear that falls from my eyes. I'm not hiding the remedy to cure this old heart of mine. I can dream about you.
Yeah, I think I've heard this song out in the wild before.
Yeah, I have that feeling as well.
It sounded familiar when you played the film version, but
Yeah,
I like the other version better.
I do too.
It's got more swing to it. This Dan Hartman one feels stiff to me. Feels British.
I found a piece of a Songfacts interview with Kenny Vance, and he talks about the switch from Winston Ford to Dan Hartman. It was a written interview, so I'll just read you the quote.
Sure.
Quote, "The same guy that sings on that and Countdown to Love, a song that I wrote for the film, was a guy working at a Radio Shack, Winston Ford. And I think when you look at the film and the Sorrells are singing it live in the movie, that was the version that was supposed to come out. And I recorded that version. But when Dan Hartman heard it, I don't know what happened next, but I know that he took that guy's voice off and he put his own on, and he got a hit with it. Hollywood is a very slippery place."
That sounds like there were some daggers in there.
It sounds kind of Bruce Springsteen-y.
Everybody wanted to get theirs. In a time when soundtracks were like a viable way to get famous or make money.
Yeah.
We get 2 songs out of the Sorrells in this, and I feel like in the first song, they sound like very 50s, like The Temptations.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we've talked about, everybody knows, we all know what doo-wop sounds like. We all know My Girl,
Yeah.
The Temptations. But then later, when they do the song on stage, they sound more like The Temptations.
Oh, yeah.
Treat her like a lady. Treat her like a lady. A cigarette if she smokes even. Go with the cold. Treat her like a lady. Treat her like a lady.
Yeah, I just think it's cool how it's the same sort of music, but if you change the instrumentation, it's instantly from a whole different time.
This whole movie's from a different time, so it works.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know if I would have liked it a few years ago even, but like I've come around to really enjoying sort of stuff that takes place in a weird hybrid future past.
Well, it helps with the escapism.
It does, yeah. And dude, like if you're gonna set, like the worst thing to do is set a movie like say you're going to set a movie in the accurate past, because you will get it wrong and you will get called out. But yeah, if you set it in this weird liminal space, then you can't critique that. You just go, I don't know when this is.
Yeah.
Like Bill Paxton is like an old-timey bartender, but it's definitely the 80s sort of too. I don't know.
Yeah, they're all driving 50s style cars.
Yeah, it's just a good mix.
How about we move on to the main event of Ellen Aim and the Attackers?
AKA Fire Inc. Are they just known as Fire Inc. out here in the real world? Is that the deal?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, it's just one of those weird naming things.
Yeah. Well, because it's a fictional band in reality, too, because to my knowledge, they didn't produce a ton of stuff outside of this soundtrack.
Yeah, that's what's interesting about it. It smacks of label/studio intrusion, because I'm sure they went like, well, no one's going to know who Ellen Ames is. That's not a real person.
Yeah.
You got to come up with a new name for the soundtrack so we can make it a single and make it a hit. And, I'm sure there were meetings. Like, that's how this went down. So, whatever. Fire Inc.
Yeah.
That's what I've been calling them because that's who the music is credited to. But in the universe of the film.
Ellen Aim and the Attackers.
Yeah.
We get their first song in the opening of the movie, and I personally think it is an absolutely badass opening to this flick.
that like vocal key change there.
Yeah.
That's a Jim Steinman trademark.
Oh, 110%. I need to get to the chorus of this song because it's going to be important in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, copy that.
Here we go. Man, do I love that song.
Good stuff. Dude, so when we first talked about doing this episode, the one bit of information you gave me was like, it's the guy who wrote Meatloaf's like big hits.
Uh-huh.
That's what I knew. I didn't even know his name, Jim Steinman, at the time.
Right.
And that is what I continued to know until I watched the film. And so when it opens with this song, I'm like, it's pretty badass. That's right on. But like instantly I was like, you know what? This doesn't, I get that it sounds like Meatloaf stuff, but I'm like, it reminded me way more of like Holding Out for a Hero.
Oh, okay.
I was like, this is way more like Bonnie Tyler Holding Out for a Hero. That's weird that that Meatloaf is and then I look and I'm like, what are Jim Steinman's biggest hits? And this is one of them.
Oh man, this is another great song.
Banger, yeah. And then Total Eclipse of the Heart, which I don't even need to play.
No.
You all heard it. You all heard it as soon as I said it.
If you want to hear an absolutely amazing version of Total Eclipse of the Heart, go to YouTube, search Hurrah Torpedo Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's 3 guys, a guitarist and singer, a guy that plays 2 deep freezers, and a guy that plays a stove.
Plays deep freeze?
As in, like, the giant freezers that you have in your garage?
No, yeah, I know what it is. I'm struggling to wrap my head around it as an instrument.
Yeah.
All right. This is wild.
I have been obsessed with this video for probably 20 years.
This is like performance art.
It's so funny. The guy that's playing the stove, his pants just fall down more and more the entire performance, and his whole ass is hanging out by the end of it.
Just to clarify, when you say playing the stove, he's got like a large mallet type thing.
It looks like the base of a coat rack.
Okay, yeah. Some big heavy thing on a stick.
Yeah.
And he's just banging it on the top of the stove. Yeah, and then the other guy's whacking some deep freezers, and then this other guy is singing and playing guitar, and it's working.
Yeah, they're all in tracksuits. It's from like 1995, I think.
Holy cow.
Falling apart. Nothing I can say, a total eclipse of the heart.
That's pretty incredible. And then it ends with the stove guy turning around and just like full cheeks.
Yep.
Right before it cuts off. You were not kidding about the pants falling down.
Absolutely not.
Well, look at that. Hurrah, torpedo. Never heard of this.
Oh, man. I love that clip. So this song, Nowhere Fast, has another version. Did you come across that, Dustin?
No.
Oh, well, allow me to play you the Meatloaf version of this song.
Oh.
That features basically none of the original lyrics except for some overlap in the chorus.
It's getting cold, it's getting dark, the nights are longer every day. The air is heavy and the clouds will never burn away. And waiting has so long, but we've forgotten what it's like to run into the fire, looking straight into the street, into the light. Your heart is trying to rock, but it can barely beat it all. Your soul is trying to run, but all your body does is crawl. You don't need any signal, you don't need any sign. Nothing's gonna stop you once you cross over the line. I wanna tear it all apart and take the clothes right off your back. We're tearing down the highway and we're breaking away. We're breaking away, breaking away. We're breaking away from the pack. We're breaking away from the pack. You don't have anywhere to go. You go down on your back and you're ready to roll. Speed, it's all you'll ever need, all you'll ever need to know. You and me, we're going nowhere slowly, and we gotta get away from the past. There's nothing wrong with going nowhere, baby, but we should be going nowhere fast. Everybody's going nowhere slowly. They only fight for the chance to be last. There's nothing wrong with going nowhere, baby, but we should be going nowhere fast. It's so much better going nowhere fast.
What year do you think that song came out, Dustin?
Ooh, it's got some funny instruments in it.
Yeah.
I mean, vocals, Meatloaf, Mr. Loaf, no notes. But the instrumentation was kind of weird. It sounded like the opening theme from Mystery Science Theater at first.
Okay.
I'm gonna. So it's later than the movie.
I don't know.
I'm gonna say that came out in 1991.
1984, same year as the movie.
Okay. I mean that makes the most sense. I feel like okay, you got me a little bit there because I was trying to. I was like, oh, was it a different year? Like I said, can't beat the vocals, can't beat those Meatloaf vocals.
No.
Like once again, I prefer the soundtrack version though.
I do too, but that Meatloaf one is so crazy sounding that it's very appealing to me at the same time.
Yeah. It's got some good weirdness. It's got like that trance like drum feel during the chorus.
Yeah.
I mean, the one on the soundtrack has the what I've come to realize now is another Jim Steinman trademark, but the Tom Phil.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like every single song that guy wrote has a little bit of that.
So these Ellen Aim and the Attackers songs, I have a decent amount of information about the people involved with the production of the song.
Yeah.
So we have Jim Steinman, who did the music and the lyrics. The lead vocals on Nowhere Fast are provided by Laurie Sargent. And Laurie was the lead singer of a new wave band called Face to Face.
Yeah.
Who play the Attackers in this movie.
Yeah. They're the backing band.
Yeah, which is really cool. And they had a song hit number 38 on the Billboard Hot 100 in July of 1984 called 1098.
I know what the next line's going to be. Oh, they didn't say it. They didn't say 3, 2, 1.
You got baited.
I mean, the 10, 9, 8 thing gave me a clue. And then the 7, 6, 5. Oh, wait, it wasn't 7. They skipped 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6, 5, 4. So I didn't know. I guess it would have been 2, 1, 0 if the pattern repeats.
Oh, that's funny.
We've seen this a couple times now, where like a real band becomes the backing band.
Yeah.
In the film.
Pretty cool. I don't think that they did the recording of the song, but the on-screen band of the Attackers was played by the other members of Face to Face.
Gotcha.
Then we have 3 people doing the background vocals. We have Roy Dodd, Holly Sherwood, and Eric Troyer. And I have some fun little tidbits about the 3 of them. For Roy Dodd, he did the background vocals for every song on the Bat Outta Hell album except for All Revved Up with No Place to Go, which is pretty cool.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, so he's worked with Jim and Meat Loaf before, which is rad. Then Eric Troyer is one of those super talented folks that gets to work with everyone under the sun, like Billy Squier, Kiss, Celine Dion, Zebra, and so much Meat Loaf. And also was involved in some other pretty big soundtracks like Footloose and Flashdance.
Oh, yeah, those are big.
Yeah.
Well, so Flashdance was, I read, kind of one of the things that at least got the studio thinking about this movie.
Sure.
The success of Flashdance.
Also, at the Torches bar where the Blasters are playing, there is a dancer that is dancing on the bar.
Uh-huh.
That was Jennifer Beals' dance double in Flashdance.
Oh, wow.
Back to the background vocalist, Holly Sherwood did background vocals for Olivia Newton-John's Physical and a song that you just played a couple of minutes ago, Total Eclipse of the Heart.
By Bonnie Tyler.
Yes. And then one final mind blow in terms of people that were involved with this song, Nowhere Fast. Max Weinberg played the drums on this song.
Oh, really?
Along with Jim Brawler. There are 2 people that did drums for this song.
Okay, sometimes you need 2 drummers. I wonder how Bruce felt about that.
Yeah, no kidding.
Max Weinberg, the drummer from the E Street Band, Bruce Springsteen's backing band.
Yes, uh-huh.
For those who don't know, and for those who grew up, who are our age, the band leader from Conan O'Brien's show for a very, very long time.
So one final note about this song, Nowhere Fast. There is yet a 3rd version of this song, and I'm gonna play you the song before I tell you where it's from. So this song comes from a 2008 unofficial sequel to Streets of Fire.
There was an unofficial sequel?
An unofficial sequel from 2008 called Road to Hell. And the band in the movie is Ellen Ames' daughter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like you do.
The band name is changed slightly to Ellen Dream and the Blasters.
Oh, a couple references in there. Okay.
Uh-huh. And Michael Paré does come back as Tom Cody.
I'll be damned.
It is a very wild flick.
Was this like a super low budge
Yes.
thing that happened?
It had to have been. Almost the entire movie is shot on a green screen.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at a trailer. Oh, shit. Sin City had come out, and they went, we're going to do that.
Yep.
That is what I'm getting from the look of this.
For sure.
Oh, and they've got like Warriors titles. This whole thing is an homage.
But we do get some extra songs from Ellen Dream and the Blasters in this movie.
Okay.
For example, the song Goodbye Kiss.
You said you'd never lie, and I said if you left, I'd die. But here I am, and my heart still beats. Not for you anymore, so I'll change the sheets. Well, I guess this is the end when you tell me that I'll never see you again. I didn't know it could end like this with a foot out the door and a goodbye kiss.
Okay, so that song's a little more like generic Josie and the Pussycats style.
Sure.
There's a notable difference from the Steinman track.
That song is written by Roxy Gunn.
Okay.
We get some pretty crazy information as to what happened to some of the characters from Streets of Fire in Road to Hell.
Okay.
Ellen Aim was murdered by Willem Dafoe's Raven.
Oh, God, he came back and got her, huh?
The rumor that they keep circulating within the film is that Rick Moranis' character had something to do with that happening.
Oh, sold her out.
And Tom Cody is completely unaware of her death, and he has a fixation on getting back to the love of his life because after 28 years of being gone, he has sort of lost his mind in a lot of ways and kills people willy-nilly.
Wow, okay.
He even killed McCoy, for example.
Oh, Jesus. What a bloodbath.
Yeah.
From a movie where they didn't kill anyone to all of the main characters.
Yes.
All of the actors who didn't sign on to this fake sequel. Again, this is not canon, right?
No,
This is not approved by the original filmmakers.
No.
It's just somebody picked up the torch.
Right. And there are other songs in the movie, songs like Where Her Heroes Lie and Shelter Me, which is originally written by Ellen Aim, but is an Ellen Dream and the Blasters song in this movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. They put some thought into it.
Yeah.
That's like one of Mom's tunes.
Yeah, uh-huh.
But it was fully written for this weird sequel.
Yes.
Just looking at the IMDb, Deborah Van Valkenburg did sign on, did come back for this.
Yes, she did.
She's just credited as sister. They took away her name.
Yeah. So the movie Road to Hell closes with a recast Ellen Aim, and the song is called Streets of Fire, and it plays over the credits.
I'm going round and round this road, it won't let me go, won't let me go, and I've been locked up, shut down, kicked into the ground, but I'm standing here, streets of fire.
So we've gone from a movie called Streets of Fire, intended to feature the song Streets of Fire by Bruce Springsteen, which it does not, to a movie called Road to Hell, which does feature a song called Streets of Fire, but it's not Streets of Fire by Bruce Springsteen or a cover of it.
Uh-huh. Correct.
Cool. Just confirming the timeline there.
Yep. Mm-hmm. You nailed it.
Wow, that's a hell of a thing. How did you find this sequel thing? How did you hear about this?
I was on their fucking Wikipedia page, and I was like, excuse me, what now? And then I went to YouTube. I saw that there was the trailer for it. I watched the trailer, and then I found the full fucking movie on YouTube, so I watched that.
Wow, what a thing. I wonder how many films have this, and we just don't even know it.
Yeah.
Because it has a Wikipedia editor who takes it off every time it gets posted.
Yeah. So the next Ellen Aim and the Attackers song we hear in the film is Never Be You.
Don't get by on pride. It'll run over you. But since you let me down, I'm hard to be around. I don't know what I'm gonna do. It will never be you. Never be you.
So once again, that is Laurie Sargent doing the lead vocals for the movie version of the song. However, the soundtrack, not Laurie Sargent, but Maria McKee.
Uh-huh. Pulled the old Hollywood switcheroo on us. The movie and soundtrack versions are pretty wildly different
I know.
for everything you've played so far. It's kind of cool. It's like bonus content in a way.
Exactly, yeah. I said this in the A Mighty Wind episode. I love when there's the differences like this.
So this is the first Ellen Aim song where we get different writers too. This is not a Jim Steinman composition.
Yeah, Tom Petty.
And longtime collaborator Benmont Tench, member of the Heartbreakers.
Yes,
I was excited to see that.
Circling back to Maria McKee, I do want to play her 1990 hit, Show Me Heaven, off of the Days of Thunder soundtrack, because it did hit #1 on the UK singles charts.
You've such amazing grace. I've never felt this way. Oh, show me heaven, cover me, leave me breathless. Oh, show me
Have you seen Days of Thunder, Dustin?
Nice. I have not seen Days of Thunder. That was that right before or right after Top Gun?
I think right after. Top Gun was still in the 80s, and Days of Thunder was 1990 even.
Okay, gotcha. But it was definitely like when Tom Cruise had latched onto the action side of his career.
Yeah, I think so. And there's one more version of the song Never Be You. Dustin, did you come across this?
No. I'm out of material. Shawn, you're running the show from here on out. I've bottomed out on my homework.
Fair enough. My homework's going to keep on going, buddy.
I was like, Meatloaf, Bonnie Tyler, done.
So in 1985, Roseanne Cash released her version of the song.
Since you let me down, hard to be around. I don't know what I'm gonna do. He could never be you. He could never be you.
Fun fact, Roseanne recorded and submitted a version of Never Be You to be used on the soundtrack, but it was not accepted, so that's why she put out her own version in 1985.
Oh, wow.
And it was the second single off of her fourth album, Rhythm and Romance, and this version of Never Be You was her fifth song to hit #1 on the Billboard Hot Country charts.
Good gravy. So everybody involved with the music in this movie was either like, you can't use my song or I'm going to use that song.
Yeah. Pretty wild.
Yeah. I have one more song that Maria McKee is known for.
Oh, what happened to You Being Done, Dustin?
Well, I did a little research on the fly. And I thought it fit given a different song we played earlier.
My heart is empty.
The song is called If Love is a Red Dress, Hang Me in Rags, and it is the only original song on the Pulp Fiction soundtrack.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Since we already dipped into Tarantino world on the Robert Rodriguez side of Tarantino world
Right.
earlier.
Yeah.
Now we are full.
I don't know. We know what kind of movies Tarantino likes, and I bet he likes Streets of Fire.
Yeah, that's true. So we still have two Ellen Aim and the Attackers songs left to talk about, and let's go ahead and jump into the world of Sorcerer.
Sorcerer, yeah.
I'm tired, I'm thirsty, I'm wild-eyed in my misery, timeless. When you finally a high price for your luxury, sorcerer.
There's the giveaway to who wrote this song right there.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Another new writer to this film. We got some Stevie Nicks,
We sure do.
and it really started to sound like a Stevie Nicks song right there.
Yeah.
Now, was this a different singer?
Yes, so that is, once again, Laurie Sargent for the movie version, but she was screwed when it came to the soundtrack, because on the soundtrack, it is a woman by the name of Mary Martin, and it sounds like this.
Sorcerer, who is the master?
That's like the first one that improves upon the movie version for me.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I think that's a pretty great version. Now, okay, I'm getting lost in all these names because not only are there multiple people performing on the soundtrack of the film, different from the performers in the film, there are multiple vocalists providing vocals in the film.
Yes.
Okay, but everything we've heard so far from Ellen's band has been Laurie Sargent, right?
Yes, until the final song.
Gotcha.
Where it is not Laurie Sargent.
Okay. I was just getting cleared up on where the Holly Sherwood card comes in.
Yep.
Cool.
Just to throw out a random thing that Mary Martin was involved with, a quick overlap for something that we've covered before. She had a #1 hit song with Phil Collins called Separate Lives from the movie soundtrack, White Nights. Do you remember this? We talked about it in the Back to the Future episode where the Lionel Richie song from that soundtrack beat The Power of Love in 1985 at the Oscars. So this soundtrack was fucking huge for White Nights in 1985.
Well, maybe that's my 40-year anniversary movie.
The song Separate Lives sounds a little something like this.
I can't go on, just holding on to tight.
Yeah, I know this song.
Now that we're living separate lives.
That's like a Disney song.
It kind of reminds me of Endless Love in a way.
Yeah, a little bit. It's got that the same electric keyboard voicing that I have never warmed up to. It's I thought maybe like I would have come back around to this as a vintage sound by now, but it still just sounds like cheap to me.
Yeah. So you mentioned that this song is written by Stevie Nicks. It was written in 1972 for her duo, Buckingham and Nicks, but it was never released officially, just as a demo in 1974.
In your finery.
It's already my favorite version. Like I'm not joking. We're 2 seconds into it and it's already my favorite.
Sorcerer, who is the master? Man and woman on the star stream, in the middle of a snow dream. Sorcerer, show me the highlight.
Pretty good for a demo.
Yeah, man. So, okay, I'm getting the picture now. So presumably, like whereas some other artists wrote songs specifically for this movie, it sounds like maybe they approached Stevie Nicks and she was like, I've got something you can have.
Right, yeah. Yeah. I have a song that's never been officially released if you would like that, which later on she ended up releasing the song on her own in 2001 with Sheryl Crow.
Yeah. I remember this version too.
I do too.
This was like early 2000s was a Stevie Nicks like revival era.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to me to listen to these and like whenever you get something like that where it's just Stevie or presumably Lindsey Buckingham since it was a duo.
Right.
But like it's interesting to try to tease out like who comes up with what in the Fleetwood Mac world because you know we talked about it. Fleetwood Mac is all music now.
Yeah.
But this one you can kind of hear it like it's a little more country, a little more stripped down. It's like, oh, okay, that's the Stevie Nicks element.
Well, I think the Sheryl Crow element probably helps skew that country as well.
Yeah. All right. So that leaves us with the big finale. Tonight is what it means to be young.
The song that exposed me to this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, as I said at the beginning when I was talking about Happily, this is the song that's on the soundtrack.
Oh, okay, gotcha. This is I'm gonna say this, and maybe I'll change my opinion over the next minute or two. It's my least favorite song from the band.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't expect that, but I mean, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong.
No, fair. But I'm just saying, having watched the movie once, right before we recorded this, it did the least for me. Because Nowhere Fast is such a force.
Yeah.
And knowing now, I feel like I felt bad for like feeling like I don't like this song as much. Knowing now that it was written in 2 days, I feel a little better.
Fair fair enough. I'm personally a pretty big fan of this song. I love the performance at the end of the movie. It's like one of my favorite visual performances from anything we've talked about so far. It's super fun, and the fact that the Sorrells come back on stage and they're all dancing behind her, and it's like this big party, and you know, we get our happy ending, even though Cody's on his way back out of town and they didn't really hook up officially at the end of it. And that's one of my favorite lyrics from a fictional song.
Well, let's lay a little bit on the audience.
I'm sorry you don't dig the song as much as I do, but the lyric, I've got a dream about a boy in a castle and he's dancing like a cat on the stairs, is fucking awesome.
That's what does it for you, huh? I was trying to figure out what line you were talking about.
I will just be walking around my apartment and that specific line will just right into my head out of nowhere, like, oh yeah. Because I picture a boy the size of a cat at the top of stairs. And the visual of like a shrunken down person like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or something. It brings me a lot of joy to see them dancing at the top of the set of stairs like a cat.
I see where you're going. It's just a literal reading, like it's a tiny human. That's great. That's funny. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what line you might be referring to, and I had no idea because it turns out your reason was so internal that I could never have known.
Oh yeah. No, it's just I really like that line specifically. It brings me a lot of joy every time I hear it. That's great. It's an A-list tier line for me.
Hey man, I liked what you played more than I think the section I heard in the movie. I think they use a weaker section in the film, or just an earlier section, so it hasn't built as much. And Jim Steinman, you got to pick a section because Nowhere Fast is 6 minutes long. And this song, Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young, is 7 minutes long. He outdid himself on the 2-day rewrite, or no, not rewrite. Like he wrote this song in 2 days.
Yeah,
and he was like, I'm going to go the full 7 minutes with it. They need 30 seconds for the movie.
Yeah. My connection also is a little bit deepened because this song plays under the climax of the Happily movie as well.
Sure, yeah.
Which, in a movie full of unexpected twists and turns, even while this song is playing, more of them are happening, and you're like, Jesus Christ, I swear to God, if you give this movie a shot, you will not know where it is going. I promise you.
Okay. Gonna check out Happiness.
Happily.
Happiness
is the Philip Seymour Hoffman movie.
Oh, yes.
Happily is a great cast. John Daly, Breckin Meyer, Natalie Morales, Joel McHale, Stephen Root. All kinds of fun people in there.
And The Pursuit of Happiness is the Will Smith movie. Yeah. And Happy Gilmore is the Adam Sandler movie.
It is? So there is another version of Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young, Dustin.
Of course there is. I would expect no less at this point. Only one more?
Only one more. Only one more. And it's from the 2008 classic Road to Hell.
Got a dream about a boy
I like that you queued it up to the same line.
By the way, the visual look of Ellen, Dreamer, and the Blasters is that of Panic at the Disco.
Oh, okay.
You got a lot of bowlers and eyeliner with swoop hair and
Scene
striped
kid.
shirts with vests. Yeah,
Okay. Huh. I'm impressed that, like, to make an unofficial, in quotes, sequel and to go ahead and use both songs, like, okay, they did the one, I'm like, fine, that ties it to the, whatever. But they were like, we need both of them.
yeah, we need to make them sound totally different.
Hey, I'm fine with stuff sounding totally different as long as it's an interesting take.
Sure.
We've talked about that. The best covers are the ones where you innovate. I wouldn't say they innovated with this cover.
No.
Good on them for just keeping Streets of Fire alive. I don't think it's a movie that many people were talking about or are talking about now. So it's cool that it happened, I guess.
And as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, the soundtrack version of Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young is where Holly Sherwood takes over for the lead vocals of Ellen Aim. At least that is according to Jim Steinman's website. That's where I got that information.
That sounds reliable.
Yeah, I would think so. It's his official website.
This is a good time to note, we don't have a fact checker on this podcast.
Nope.
We just read stuff and mostly believe it.
Yeah, we're probably wrong about a lot of stuff, but
Try to tease it a little bit and make sure it's got some substance.
we're doing our best here, people. It's just us two and Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry's been slacking.
So, Dustin, do any of these bands strike your fancy? Would the Blasters, the Sorrells, Ellen Aim and the Attackers, or Ellen Dream and the Blasters, would they end up in your daily rotation if they were real? I mean, the Blasters are kind of real, but not in the same sense that they exist in the Streets of Fire world.
Yeah, the Blasters are real, and I like their real music more than the movie music, I would say.
Fair.
I'm into what they did in the movie, but it's also just like straight rockabilly isn't really in my wheelhouse.
Sure.
Kind of the same for the Sorrells. Great takes on doo-wop and R&B. Not necessarily something I would queue up, probably.
Fair.
But I think they did a great job. And I mean, the bangers. I'm totally going to listen to these bangers again. Nowhere Fast in particular.
Yep.
I can't wait to listen to again.
Oh, that's great. I love to hear that.
I feel various things about the Ellen Aim songs, but definitely that one's high on my list.
Sure.
The Petty one's okay, but I'd rather listen to other Tom Petty songs, probably, honestly.
Sorcerer's a banger.
Sorcerer's a banger, yeah. It does just make me want to listen to more like Fleetwood Mac. For sure.
It's like the appetizer for going into Fleetwood Mac. You hear that song and then you go, okay, now I want the Mac.
Although I do want, I've never checked out this Nix and Buckingham thing, like separate group they had. I kind of want to dive into that and see what else there is.
That was some pretty new information for me as well.
Was that pre Fleetwood Mac or just like on a break from Fleetwood Mac?
I think it might be pre because the first Fleetwood album didn't have Stevie or Lindsay as a part of it.
Oh, true. Yeah, I guess I should say pre them joining.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know there was a Fleetwood Mac pre them altogether. But what year was the Sorcerer demo from?
The song was written in 72. That demo came out in 74.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, 75 is when they joined up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right before then.
Yeah, I want to hear more of what they were writing together pre Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, I didn't dive into it super hard. I was just happy to have found that demo.
That was a good find.
Thank you. No dice on Ellen Dream and the Blasters, I suppose?
Ooh, buddy. No, I mean, no, that sounds like I'm making it sound like worse than it is. There's nothing wrong. It's not bad. It's just not that interesting to me.
Sure. Well, stylistically, it's so different from the versions of the songs that we are now aware of through Streets of Fire.
Yeah.
So it's like, I heard the epicness and then you tone it down for 2008 scene rock.
Yeah, it doesn't stand out in that world either. It just that I hate to like keep poo-pooing, but it's like it sounds like music in a low budget unofficial sequel type film.
Fair enough.
I mean, it didn't hurt. It didn't hurt me to listen to it. Okay.
Were you in pain, though, Dustin? I am sort of in agreement with you. I mean, I've been listening to the Ellen Ames songs for 3 years now, ever since I was first exposed to them. The Blasters, I didn't realize that they were a real band. So I am totally going to give that a shot.
Nice.
And because it has the connection. Like, you showed me a song. I didn't even know that I liked of theirs already. So that's a great in for me to keep experiencing somebody's catalog. The Sorrells, much like you, I don't listen to a ton of doo-wop, despite what this show would prove to you, because that's really all we're fucking talking about so far this year. But the songs are fucking good. So when they come on my shuffle, I certainly don't get mad. I'm like, oh yeah, man, here's this fucking awesome song. This whole soundtrack is full of songs that when they come on, I'm like, yeah, this is great. I mean, I own the vinyl, so I love all the music on this movie.
Hell yeah.
I'm glad that you had a good time on your first experience with Streets of Fire, and even more thrilled that some of the Ellen Ames songs really tickled your ear fancy.
Oh, for sure, dude. This was a good find. I mean, there have been a few films we've talked about, or that we will talk about, where I have been totally clueless coming in. Mm-hmm. This is one of them, maybe the most clueless I've been. Like, I can't think of anywhere I'd never heard of it before you told me about it. Before you said, "Hey, we're gonna talk about this." Yeah, it was a delightful surprise to know that this exists, and all the layers of stuff that went into it, and all the friggin' famous songwriters and actors and everyone involved, and Bill Paxton, and just so much more than I expected. Yeah, totally. I did not think we were going to get Paxton in again this run, this season, if you will.
To be fair, when I picked it, I completely forgot that he was in there.
I'm glad, because you would have mentioned it maybe otherwise, and I was just so delighted to like see him. Like, the first time you see him, he's just like kind of running past. Mm-hmm. Like, he doesn't have a line, I don't think. And so, like, I actually paused it at that point. I was like, was that Bill Paxton? I had to like go back and look. I was like, I'm pretty sure that was Bill Paxton. And then I went and confirmed that he is in the cast. Yes, that was Bill Paxton. And of course, not long after that, he has lines, and
yes,
it's clearly him. But I had to make sure, because I was like, oh, maybe it's like super early. Maybe he was like a featured, extra or something.
Yeah, it could have been like Terminator style, where he's just like, there and then gone.
Yeah.
Well, Dustin, I just looked out my window and I saw that these streets are actually on fire, so we should wrap up the show just thank everybody for tuning in today. And if you enjoyed our Streets of Fire show, go ahead and give us a like and review on whatever streaming platform you're currently listening to this show on.
And as always, you can find all of our episodes and links to our social media at our website, fictionradiopod.com, and you can drop us a line at fictionradiopod@gmail.com with your suggestions and comments and anything else you want to talk to us about or want to have us discuss on the air.
We love getting emails about things to possibly talk about in future episodes of the show. We've been getting a handful of them recently, and it has been very helpful for us to fill out our massive lists of things to talk about. So please keep those coming.
Send us your ideas.
We love that. We absolutely love it. And until next week, keep on rocking, kids.
Watching movies, jamming out. K-Flix 198.4 Fiction Radio.